Imagine thousands of the most lethal soldiers on Earth, marching into a thick, impenetrable fog that simply swallows them whole. They never return. There are no bodies to bury, no mass graves to uncover, and no final, desperate messages left behind in the dirt. A force of over 5,000 elite veterans simply evaporates from the historical record. This was Rome's legendary Ninth Legion, Legio IX Hispana. This is more than a missing persons case. It is one of the most persistent, unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. To understand the weight of this disappearance, we have to look at exactly who went missing. Formed during the late Roman Republic, the Ninth served as the iron fist of Julius Caesar, acting as his shock troops against the tribal confederacies of the Gallic Wars. They were given the most dangerous assignments because they were the men who refused to break. But during the rebellion of Queen Boudica in 60 AD, the Ninth marched into a catastrophic ambush where their entire infantry was slaughtered. Rome refused to let the unit die. The empire aggressively rebuilt their ranks with fresh recruits and sent them back to the front lines to crush the northern tribes and establish a massive stone fortress at York. Even in the Scottish Highlands, they survived a night of terror when Caledonian warriors bypassed their sentries and swarmed their camp in the darkness. The Ninth recovered their nerve, held their ground, and survived. This was a unit defined by its resilience. They were a military machine that could be decimated and then simply replenished, returning to the field as if the original slaughter had never occurred. This resilience makes their eventual silence difficult to reconcile. In 108 AD, the men of the Ninth carved a monumental stone inscription to commemorate a new gateway in York. This carving, honoring Emperor Trajan, is the last definitive footprint the Legion ever left in Britain. Just 14 years later, Emperor Hadrian arrived to build his colossal wall. He brought an entirely new legion, the 6th Victrix, to take over the Ninth's fortress at York. Every military unit on the island etched their names into the stones of Hadrian's wall as they built it, but the Ninth left nothing. By the time the official active rosters were carved in Rome decades later, the Legion had been scrubbed from the list. We are left with a logistical gap, a record-obsessed state losing track of 5,000 men in a single decade. The most famous theory points to the misty bogs of northern Britain, suggesting the Ninth was annihilated by local tribes in a massive, undocumented ambush. A total massacre would explain why Emperor Hadrian felt compelled to build a stone wall across the country, acting to contain a threat that had just swallowed an entire legion. Yet, a century of modern archaeology has found no mass graves. There are no fields littered with shattered eagle standards or the rusted plates of Roman armor. In a landscape that preserves so much, the ground is silent. This lack of evidence led to a second theory. Roman tile stamps bearing the Ninth's insignia were discovered near the Rhine River in the Netherlands, suggesting the Legion was quietly redeployed to the European continent. But clay tiles are difficult to date. Many experts believe these stamps belong to a much earlier period, representing a small detachment rather than the movement of the entire army. With the evidence in Europe remaining contradictory, the investigation moves toward the eastern edges of the empire. In the 130s AD, Rome fought the blood-soaked Bar Kokhba revolt in Judea. We know that whole legions were decimated there, and it is possible the Ninth was sent to bolster the front. There is also a documented account of an unnamed Roman legion being surrounded and wiped out by Parthian horse archers in the 160s AD. In that account, the commander chose suicide over capture. If those men were the Ninth, they took their identity to the grave. No inscriptions or artifacts from the Ninth have ever been found in the eastern provinces to confirm their presence. There is a final possibility, a slow attrition. The Ninth may have bled out over years of guerrilla warfare until they were no longer a viable fighting force. Instead of a singular disaster, the emperor may have simply deemed them not worth the cost of rebuilding. Their banners were lowered, their paybooks were closed, and the name Legio IX Hispana was retired. We are left with the contrast between an army of 5,000 men and the pittance they left behind, a stone carving in York and a clay tile in the Netherlands. For a civilization that built stone monuments specifically to ensure they were remembered forever, this total disappearance is a direct failure of their greatest ambition. We look to the northern Moors that first swallowed their footprint. If a force as large and organized as a Roman legion can slip through the cracks of history, it suggests that our understanding of the past is built only on the few who survived. The true scale of what has been lost remains invisible. The men of the Ninth conquered everything in their path, only to be swallowed by the one thing they feared more than defeat: being forgotten.